Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. We had a few videos out this week, mostly news-related ones, and there's still technically a couple more of those that I could release and probably will over the next few days. This week was a big week for me in terms of mental health, though. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of cooking to kind of just relax or keep my mind busy, but that relaxes me, if that makes sense. I got a deal on HelloFresh. I think I mentioned it last week. It's like Blue Apron. They like send you a bunch of ingredients and a few recipes, and you cook that up. I did a few of those this week. I did a New York strip. I did sausage and rice with like onions and bell peppers and garlic, and that was good. Just before this, I did pan-seared scallops over roasted potatoes and grilled asparagus with a lemon butter sauce. So I've been doing a lot of cooking, and that has been excellent for me. It's like it took me a year after the pandemic started before I wanted to do something with the time, and that's weird, but that's just how it ended up working out. So on top of that, in case any of you haven't seen it yet, Ethis is still uploading our Dungeons and Dravanians playthrough. I'm not sure how far he is in it, because it looks like the first video was only an hour and 39 minutes, and I know our total session was like 7 or 8 hours for this one shot that became a 2-shot. But it was good, so I highly recommend heading over to Ethis' channel. I'll include a link to part 1 in the description of the video to check out our one-shot of Final Fantasy XIV themed D&D, because it was a lot of fun, and I'd definitely be down to do it again, like I said last week. So anyway, with that, let me thank our patrons and get to the Q&A. Thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting the channel as they have. You guys are awesome. Appreciate all of you. And those are their names. Scrolling up and, well, not up and down the screen, just down the screen. Up the screen. There's a list. All right, that's what I'm trying to say. Also, thank you to our patrons of Darkness, Khuja on Jenova and Kurenai Oni for going above and beyond. Thank you to both of you. Thank you to all of our patrons, and thank you to all of you who tune in for the weekly Q&A. With that, let's see what kind of questions we got this week, and I'll count how many Stat Squish related ones there are. All right, question number 1, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Heyo, Haps. Heyo. Welcome. Thank you. Time for a strange question once again. What was the last compliment you got in-game? With a bonus question, what was the last compliment you got IRL? Take care. IRL's the beard. That's always easy, even though I think it honestly looks kind of scrubby in a sense, because like this isn't trimmed down and this is going over my mouth and it's not properly trimmed. You can see it's offset. I'm very critical of said beard, but I also just want to shave everything off of my head and face at the same time. So when I cut my hair up here, this is definitely getting trimmed as well. As for the last compliment I got in game, well, I mean, my in-game experiences vary from day to day. One day it could be thank you for making said video or releasing this content, and another day it can be I hope you die a horrible death. So I don't remember which one it was most recently. It's hard for me to remember, so I'm gonna say it was somewhere between those two things. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello Haps, hope you're doing well. I am. I've still got the scallops and potatoes and whatnot in my stomach, so I'm feeling good. My question is a bit weird, but have you been blacklisted by people you never met or ran any content in the game with, or had someone trying to defame you? Blacklisting, I don't know. You can tell if you go into the party finder and an option is grayed out, even though you meet all the requirements to join it. But I don't join party finders that frequently, and when I do, that doesn't happen. So, if there is, I don't know. So that's as good as my answer is going to get. So my food just came back into my mouth, like it was like in my mouth, and like it surfaced somehow. I don't know how to say it, but. As for trying to defame me, I mean, apparently when you speak out against racism and people mistreating other people, apparently that gets you defamed a little bit by individual groups that have way too much fucking time on their hands. I just don't understand. In the last year, we've seen so much hate and just disregard for any sort of equality between people, and it blows my fucking mind. I've gone on a rant about this before. But the last year has just been the most depressing shit to see how fucking disgraceful so many people that follow my... If you're a racist fuck, get off my channel. I don't want you here. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want to be associated with you. That's the bottom line. If you have any issues with Asians, with everything going on right now, fuck off. I don't want you here. I don't even know what you're playing Final Fantasy. How can you even... It's a whole thing. Anyway... ever since I spoke out about that, I've had people claim I was in like a pro-Trump static, even though I wasn't. They had to change all the recruitment Reddit Discord rules because of that. I had someone like copy and paste my name and like make a Twitter account and send Ethis a DM with like some really cryptic messages. And then once I said, hey, if you get a DM from this account, it's not me, then they just shut the whole thing down. And their at was something like really homophobic, if I recall correctly. And then most recently, somebody told me that somebody in-game was pretending to be me and going around and like making people very sexually uncomfortable, like it was sexually harassing people, mostly men. And I asked them what the character's name was and they never got back to me. So I don't know if that was real or not, but I can only take what's presented to me, and it wouldn't have surprised me in the first place. So yeah, I've had people try to defame me for apparently not being racist or not liking racist people. I'd have to assume that's what it's for, because ever since that, the time frame fits. And lately been happening to me, Crystal. Okay, yeah, it's dude, people have way too much time. I don't understand people, man. People have time to hate, harass, and just why not just do something more productive? Think about ways your life could be better. And the thing is, you can't even say this. It's like you can speak out against this stuff. You can say, but the people who have made up their mind, they're so far in. They're loopy, and I don't get it. So yeah, I've had this problem, but probably for different reasons than you have. Granted this, so yeah, I'm not sure. So, but yeah, it's happened all right. All right, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey there, Haps. Hope you're doing all right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Lost my mental acuity of a giraffe. I don't even remember what that was. I know I said it last week. I remember saying it. I don't remember what it was in reference to, but it's probably true. What's your favorite or some of your favorite memories of any past convention you've gone to? Like, what are conventions? Isn't that like an old world thing? Those things people used to go to when people went places? Bonus question, favorite liquor to drink. I mean, that's any kind of whiskey. I'll take a Japanese whiskey especially because they have a lot of great flavor profiles. As for conventions, it's really hard for me to pick out one memory because I've had so many. Like, I've met a bunch of people at FanFests, at PAXs. I've done signings. I've given away T-shirts. I've competed in like little tiny tournaments. I've hosted some stuff. I hosted randomly Ark back, before they made it Atlas, Ark, the dinosaur game. I hosted like a little mini thing at one of their stations. I don't know why they wanted me to do it, but they wanted me to do it, and they did. It was a lot of fun. I had to do a lot of research, and I was very nervous because I could hear myself in the background. So, yeah, I've had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things. And so I'm not really sure what it is. You know what, though? I will give you an answer. Japanese FanFest. Being flown out to FanFest in Tokyo and getting to go to the Square Enix headquarters and do a few interviews. I mean, I got interviewed by Famitsu and 4Gamer, if I recall. Was it 4Gamer or Dengeki? I don't remember. It's been a couple of years at this point. Famitsu for certain, I remember though. I think it was 4Gamer. Whatever. I'll remember it after this. And that's an experience that I would have never expected, given a decade ago, even 5 years ago. I would have never assumed that Japanese media sites would be reaching out to me to do an in-person interview because I was in Japan. Like, it was a wild experience. So definitely the collective attendance of the JP Fan Fest in Tokyo. And it's unfortunate that I won't get to experience anything like that, this time around because of the pandemic. And I'll just have to hope, a couple of years from now that maybe I'll be fortunate enough to get to go again and, create some more memories. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Happy. Hi. What's your bet for the next Unreal? Honestly, I'm just betting about what I don't want it to be and not what I think it'll be. I'm actually pretty confident it'll be Ifrit. I'm thinking because of Pagelthon, we'll probably have a lunar Ifrit. And so I think they'll just be like, oh, here's 2 Ifrits, which is weird because that seems like what they wanted to avoid. They were like, oh, we're not going to do Titan because Titan, we just had Titan, but now we just have Shiva, and we're going to give you Shiva, but then we're going to give you Titan. Just don't be Moggle Mog. That's it. Be anything else. Just don't be Moggle Mog. That's it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hope all is well. It is, and I hope the same for you. Do you think materia will ever be scalable or syncable, basically allowing the player to receive some benefits from materia doing sync content whose max item level is lower than the player's current item level? I think there's a few reasons why it won't ever happen. One, I think they want to keep the stats of the players all at about the same point. As it stands now, when we unsync, when we sync into some low-level content, our stats are already at the maximum they can possibly be, and if you encounter a new player, you see huge discrepancies between power. I'd imagine they don't want to extend those discrepancies anymore, as much as it would be great for the sake of, less drastic cases of that happening, or even when you're doing roulettes with your friends, or anything along those lines. I also think there's probably just a straight up issue with the programming in terms of it properly syncing those materia slots. But I couldn't speak any more on, but I'd have to assume there's a legitimate issue with them properly reading the materia and scaling it down. But that's not something they've said. That's just something I'm assuming. So we could maybe ask at some point in a Q&A of some sort, but it's probably not going to happen. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Haps. Hello. Hope you and yours are staying well and safe. Thank you, and I wish the same for you. Question, do you think the devs will ever go back to making actually difficult dungeons? The challenging new dungeon slide in their PowerPoint presentations are a bit of a meme. Yeah, you can say that again. Want to bring back the days of 2.1 and Pharaoh Sirius. There are people who didn't unlock it because they didn't want it popping up. I've actually timed out in that dungeon a couple of times, and I kind of missed the experience. I realized that historically the answer to difficult 4-man content was just have it on higher palates, but those don't really fit the same note. No, I agree that those don't really fit the note that you're looking for in particular. Obviously, there's been constant, requests for something like Mythic Plus dungeons, and there's been cries for difficult 4-man content. They've addressed it before in live letters and all sorts of forum posts and things like that. It ultimately comes down to what constitutes difficult 4-man content is almost uninteresting. It's basically a number push, which is what Palace of Dead and Heaven on High essentially achieve, where you can't do anything with like tank swaps. You don't want to do anything that forces certain job compositions because there's so few jobs you can actually bring. And you still have to fit within the constraints of the way the game normally works, unless you're doing something like Palace or Heaven on High. I think they will. I think they will do this because they're well aware of the demand for it. They hear about it all the time. It's kind of like when they get asked about Eggy Glamour all the time, but they also don't have Eggy Glamour yet, so maybe that's not the best example. I'm confident that one day there will be. Do I think it'll be anytime soon? I'm not too confident in that, but they know what they need to do to make difficult 4-man content. They know what it constitutes, and they're just not really happy with what that provides. But if you can find a way to open that up a little bit, maybe through another, system that is kind of like Palace Heaven on High, or even like the way things work in Eureka, Delubrum, anything along those lines, I think it's reasonable that this could happen. I think there's ways to make it happen, even if the mechanics themselves aren't all too interesting. The more difficult healing, tanking, and DPS checks, I think, are at least a welcome enough sign of things that they could probably diverge some resources into figuring out the rest of the pieces we haven't put together. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Haps. How are you faring as of late? Quite good. This cooking thing has gone quite well. I've also been doing my Ring Fit again, which has been real nice, so that's always good. And I've had my weight bench behind the green screen here for the past, I don't even know how many months at this point. I come this week with a quick Outriders related question. I watched your video about the game and it looked fun, so I tried myself. What did you think about the demo? Will you upload some videos when the game comes out? Yeah, I probably will upload a few things here and there. I think Outriders has the potential to be something that's an enjoyable experience for a little while. It's not trying to be an experience that you will obsess over and it becomes your main game and it's all you play. It's trying to be the fullest game experience that we've come to expect from games as a service as one finished delivered product. And I think that that's really important to a lot of people. You're going to go into Outriders, you're going to play a 30 to 40 hour campaign, you're going to be upgrading loot, you can play with friends. And then after that, you're going to be going through the expeditions, increasing your gear even further, increasing your world tier, finding new builds, maybe make multiple characters. It's almost like think of it like almost like original Borderlands, but maybe with a little bit more in the way of individual dungeons and unique content to actually do. But it's not promising more later. It's just trying to be as good as it can be as a $60 game without the promise of more to come unless the game does well. And I think it actually will do okay. I think that the audio desync in the demo, which I think they fixed already, was kind of rough. The way they've kind of been moving around, the way loot works in the demo is also a little weird because they don't want people getting, I guess, too many legendaries before it actually comes out. So they've pretty much moved it exclusively to Gauss, and it's still really quick to do anyway. And I just think it'll be a solid experience. Do I think it'll be like a 10 out of 10 best game ever? No, I know a lot of looter people always look for a game that's like that to be like the new crown king of like looter shooters and whatnot, but it always falls back to Destiny. And this game isn't trying to compete with Destiny. It's trying to give those Destiny people something fresh that they can enjoy before they decide to, go back to whatever the next piece of content is in Destiny or whatever their favorite looter actually ends up being. So I think I'll enjoy it. I think a lot of people will enjoy it. I think there's probably going to be a lot of little things that annoy people here or there, little menu glitches or, unresponsiveness maybe on certain platforms, especially the older ones. But overall, I think it'll be a solid experience. I saw the word, this one looked really quick. I saw Bajin in here. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. I've checked Google. Hi, by the way. And YouTube. Can't find it, but I was wondering how to unlock the airship pilot in the Dome and Enclave so I can get to do Bajin. You have to just do the Bajin quests in order. Like, that's all you do. You just run from NPC to NPC. There's nothing special you have to do. Now, you can't unlock the Southern Bajin Front or any of the Save the Queen content unless you finish the Stormblood 24-mans. Once you do that, you go to the starting NPC, which I believe is in Kurenai, and just literally follow it through. Just literally click NPC, he'll send you to the next NPC, go to the next, and you'll be done. That's all you gotta do. Next one, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, hi, hello, hey, how are ya? Good. Hope you're doing well. You too. Thanks for asking a question last week. Thanks for asking last week. Thanks for asking this week. My question this week is about job skills. In each expansion, the low-level job experience, 1 to 50, suffers greatly because of the dev streamlining, removing, and spacing out skills so it would fit in the entirety of the leveling curve. Some jobs don't even get their full job gauge until mid-level 50s. What's your opinion on how to fix this? I think they need to introduce some more elements to the low levels. They need to front-load them a little more and back-load them a little less. I know that it's always exciting when they want people to get to the new expansion levels and experience this new thing that they haven't gotten to experience up to that point. But I think the new player experience needs to be prioritized, and at the expense of the later levels not really feeling as epic. Like, you could still add some crazy new stuff at those later levels, but again, I really think, like, I think Elixir Field should be a level like 30 ability, for example. I don't think you should be having all the OG CDs coming between 50 and 60 or 70 and 80 and things like that. When you can just make a few skills at those higher levels that especially are flashy and make people feel good for reaching those level ranges. That also gives you the option of opening up the job gauges earlier. There's no reason why White Mage couldn't have a Flatus at a much earlier level, other than the fact they're trying to tie it to like specific job quests and things like that. The same can go for so many other jobs that I think that they really need to prioritize getting the most key elements of the job at the earlier levels, even if some of them are 50 to 60, and not introducing new stuff at any point after that. Or not necessarily not introducing new stuff, but not making you relearn entire portions of your job when you've gained one new level, as opposed to just being able to find a way to incorporate the new thing that you just got. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, buddy. I'm not your buddy, pal. So why doesn't 14 make a healer that works like Mercy from Overwatch, where instead of doing damage, they instead channel into a DPS and boost their damage? I mean, Astro. Astro is all about, their personal DPS is abysmal, but they focus largely on increasing raid DPS. They don't sit there and channel a laser into somebody to do it, but that is where the majority of their power lies. And if you can't master that, then you're going to be very, very sad with your output on an Astro. So we kind of already have that. Second question, why doesn't 14 use channeling spells as often as something like Warcraft? I've only seen it used for Samurai's Meditate. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think channeling abilities are very fun most of the time. One of the big things that kind of helps channeling abilities in WoW is that haste affects them. So if you are doing like a soul drain on Warlock, for example, you'll increase the tick rate by increasing your haste. 14 is very static, so when you're channeling something, you have to sit there and do nothing for a long period of time, and there's no way to expedite that process. So what would end up happening with most channeling abilities is what actually happens right now. Because we have, so for channeling abilities, we have Improv on Dancer, we have Samurai's Meditate, we have Monk's Anatman, we have Astro's Collective Unconscious, we have Paladin Wings, and I'm sure there's ones I'm forgetting, but those are, Machinist Flamethrower. I think that might be the last one that I was thinking of. And those are all channeling skills, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of them, you pop them for basically a second to get the effect, and then the effect lasts 5 seconds, and then that's it. So I think it's just because it's not as fun because of Final Fantasy XIV's tick rate. Well, the Flamethrower, I guess, ticks every second, so I guess it depends on really what they want to achieve with a channeled skill. Oh, there's a fly in here. Hey, I'll kill this fly. Don't you worry about that. But yeah, no, that's honestly my answer. I think I got him. I didn't get him. So I'm leaving that in. That's the best I could come up with. All right, and there are actually a fair number of remaining questions, but I looked through most of them, and I guess I'm just going to lightning round to some of them, because some of them I don't really have anything of significance to add. So there's one about like stat growth again, like why are they gonna keep the same accelerated stat growth from 81 to 90 that we've had before, even though 50 to 80 is changing. And it's mostly because they want people to feel good about the levels that they gain. That's a big thing when you go from like a previous max level to a new max level. You really want to see a difference. It's something that's just releases endorphins in the brain. So by shrinking the old stat curve and by increasing the new one, it just feels better to the majority of players. It does mean they'll have to do multiple stat squishes across the game's lifespan, but it also means that they still don't lose that feeling of, hey, my numbers from this level are going up as I level, and I can see there's a noticeable difference in power gain, especially as a new player who's going to get to that for the first time and then get to this huge boost, and they're really going to enjoy it. There was another one, why don't they let, same person, by the way, who asked why don't they just let us keep all our skills when we sink down. A lot of it has to do with the difference in experience between a new player and a max level player, and that even with tank stance and all the buffs that's been made to it, I wouldn't be surprised if a max level player keeping all their skills going to the lower levels would actually still give them quite a hard time. It also means that the discrepancy between, like, let's say a player that has all their skills level 80 sink down, they get 3 brand new players who don't have all their skills. That there's a decent chance, there's enough people in this game who do this kind of thing, there's a decent chance that person would leave. There'd definitely be people who are leavers because people in their party don't have high-level skills because they're not synced down. So it creates another discrepancy that kind of just harasses low-level players, and even harasses high-level players who don't leave in those scenarios if one of their fellow players actually leaves. So that's probably a big reason, is some of the discrepancies it creates. I think the aggro discrepancy isn't really much a problem anymore, even with the difference in the amount of power you would have having those skills, even when they're synced down. The amount of enmity you generate is just ridiculous. Somebody asking if I think they'll rework Red Mage low level. That kind of fell in line with my other low level thing where they need to like move certain abilities around. I don't think they will, even though Red Mage's low level power is absolutely stupid. I don't think they'll actually change it in any way. Someone asking if I'll redo the How Rating Has Evolved video. I could. At the very least, it would be only a retrospective look at Shadowbringers itself and things that we've had, things like the enlarged hitboxes, the addition of the 48-man Savage Raid, and then even drawing that comparison to Valdesian from the previous expansion, because I think we can say that at least fairly falls in line with a raiding experience to some degree. So yeah, it's you know what, I'll leave it open as an option. I think that Shadowbringers has brought with it a reasonable enough amount of quality of life and adjustments to the way that we think of raid tiers and our expectations that it's probably worth actually taking a look at. Somebody asking about the problem with keeping ultimates balanced when jobs are changed each expansion. I mean, we experienced that the Stormblood ultimate raids are much easier than they were because of the jobs and skill changes. I mean, Gunbreaker's busted in the level 70 ultimate. So we already deal with that, kind of. And we will deal with it again. And the bigger question is, how will it turn out this time? Because that's going to be a question. How will T turn out? How will the Stormblood ultimates feel? I am of the opinion they'll probably get easier again, but that's just how I interpret it, because we don't know if the stat squish, how well they're going to be balanced versus the stat squish. So if they do it right, it won't feel any different, but then with the job changes, it probably still will go to feel different. Yeah, that follows up with the last week's question of bringing ultimates up to max level, doing an Unreal version of ultimates, and I don't think that sounds like a bad idea, I just don't think they'll do it. And then there's another question here about keeping focus in fights. Why did I not include this one? I think I just missed this one, so I'm glad I'm going back and looking at it. I mean, I'm just naturally adept at focusing for long periods of time. I mean, I'm not perfect. I don't think anyone's perfect, but I'm naturally adept at it. I make sure, a big thing, a lot of people have this stigma of raiders or hardcore gamers where they're constantly unhealthy. You know, the Dorito cheesy finger Mountain Dew drinking loser who sits back in his chair and it can barely... Like, a lot of people still think that that's what it takes to be into raiding. Like, even just like a casual player in 14 thinking of somebody doing Savage, not even like doing a hardcore prog in Savage. There are people who still think it's like you sacrifice things like health and mental stability. It's weird that people still have this stigma. When the majority of people I raid with, not all of them, but the majority I raid with, they focus on doing meal prep in advance, making sure they're hydrated, taking regular breaks, standing up, doing a little bit of light exercise. That's more than normal because that keeps your blood flowing, that keeps your brain working. And you might want to try that. I know that I definitely just have a natural ability to focus on things for long periods of time, but I do some of those things as well, even if I don't do them to the same degree as everyone else. So sometimes not just sitting there and staring at it is not the answer to focusing. Sometimes you actually need to make sure your brain is in the right state of mind, for lack of a better phrase. There was a really long one about an explanation on melee positionals, and I didn't see a question. Do you think somebody? I like to actively hates the melee role and very self-aware. Do not pay attention. My question is: do you think a job which is not have positionals would be a good addition to the game? Or would I think if you're doing a melee job, it's going to have positionals. I don't think they're going to do a melee that doesn't have positionals. Personally, I think that's a staple of the melee role that they're not going to undo. I think that's one of the things that makes that role stand out, and I enjoy it. So, they can do whatever they want. I'm never right about I'm never the 100%. It's got to be this way. And the few times I've tried to say that has backfired me. I'll still do it occasionally, but they can do whatever they want. I just don't think they will do that. What was another one? I quit back in 14. Friends convinced me to give it another shot. Do you have any recommendations on where I should focus other than catching up MSQ? Honestly, that's the most important thing. I would say getting the Stormblood 24-mans out of the way is really good. If you didn't have Labyrinth of the Ancients, Circus Tower, and World of Darkness done, you're going to need those done anyway. In fact, it probably has already stopped your progress now that I think about it. So you would need those done, but other than getting the Stormblood raids done so you can do the Bojin content, it's up to you. Like, do you want to unlock the old EX content? Like, do you want to unlock the 4 Lords and the Warring Triad? Do you want to go and unlock the old raid content so you have it in your roulettes? Make sure your roulettes are open. It's probably a good idea to unlock the normal mode raids so you can have that roulette open. The 24-man raids, you have the 24-man roulette open. But no, actually getting to max level, finishing the MSQ, and getting whatever the most recent crafted gear is or item level stuff, that's definitely at the top of the list. So I'd say that's at least the most direct path forward that you have. Somebody said, I didn't answer this question last week. I have a person who has all jobs at 80 and I hop from main to main, so I can't really get good at one job. I mean, I can't force you to sit down and pick a job and feel like you have to practice on that one job. That's probably why I didn't answer it last week, although I could have swore I'd at least acknowledged it. I mean, you just need to pick a job. There's nothing else to it. Like, I can't tell you there's some secret to having a bunch of jobs and picking one. Because you literally just have to say, okay, this one, and then do it. And it's the end of it. I don't know what else to add. Somebody said they were a WoW refugee looking for static groups for progression. There is a recruitment Reddit. If you're brand new to raiding, you probably just have to join learning parties or make learning parties during peak hours in the party finder. It can be kind of rough when it's not close to the release of a new raid tier, like when you're doing it like several months down the line, like right now. Also, if you have any friends who are looking to do the same thing, or if you have friends who already raid and want to join you, that's also a really good idea as well, to try and get together with friends and at least learn the ropes like that. But most likely you'll just have to go directly into the party finder. If you do have experience, though, recruitment Reddit and the party finder are both great places to go look. Is there any other one that I didn't take? Just a bunch of comments on some stuff from last week. There's one where, like, what are good methods for bringing attention to certain issues or desired changes? There's a place on the forums where you can recruit, where you can post feedback, and if it's something that a lot of people like look at and they like it, that usually helps actually get it attention, believe it or not. Other than that, I don't really have much in the way of recommendations. A lot of people think that my videos or my comment sections or Reddit threads are really where the majority of that happens. They are if it's a very extreme case. I guarantee you they never use my YouTube videos. There's no way they ever use my YouTube videos other than maybe watching State of the Realm, but I don't even think they'll take that for feedback because it's too narrow. People think that they treat my feedback or content creator feedback more importantly than player feedback. They don't. What they look for is they look for very, very rabid amounts of feedback about certain topics. So if I posted a video about something that I thought was atrocious and was poorly designed, and then like every single person in the comment section was like, yeah, I don't get it. Why would they do this? That might be feedback that they see, but they don't care about what I have to say. I'm one person, and fortunately, the dev team is professional enough to understand that one person's opinion, even a small group of people's opinion, is not a majority. So I'm glad that that's the case, but people just have this weird thought that I have some sort of extra sway over it because I constantly create content and I've spoken to the dev team and done interviews and stuff. That's just not how it works, and I don't understand why people think that. Somebody, if they do a Scythe, do you think it'll be Dark Knight 2.0? No, I don't. I don't have anything else to say. I actually do think they'll borrow some of the Scythe weapon skill animations, but that's about it. I don't think they'll do much of anything else if it is a Scythe, which, I'm still on the bandwagon that I think it's a Scythe. And I think that's it. I think the rest of them are just comments about last week, and that's about it. So growing the beard long, no, I really want to trim this bad boy down. It gets difficult to sleep in this big old beard, so I definitely want to trim it down at some point. But that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And if you have a question for next week's episode, be sure to ask it in the comment section of the video below. On that note, though, thank you for watching. I will see all of you next week. And until then, take care.